Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to the stars of Broadway, the West End and Las Vegas, and we've got one for you today. A man who's starring and has taken over the helm of Rock of Ages, which is here at the Rio. It plays 7 days a week at 7:30. Mitchell Jarvis, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Do you know, I'm delicious. Not as good as you, though, because in this you get to nail the show, you get the ladies to fall in love with you, and you get to be a rock star. It doesn't get better than that, does it?
Well, it's certainly the most fun job I've ever had in the theater, and the one that's lasted the longest. So, you know, you could do a lot worse, I suppose.
How much fun is it compared to how much hard work is it? Because it's the kind of show where it looks amazing fun, but you've got to nail those numbers or it would just be ridiculous.
This is a very hard-working show, and the only show I think I could have done as long as I've done it for. I think I'm knocking on 1,700 performances or something like that. And it is a very challenging show, physically and vocally, but it's so much fun that it doesn't seem to matter. I think when I first started doing it in 2009, I dropped something like 27 pounds within the first 3 months. And every subsequent Lonny has dropped about that much weight at the beginning of their...
So even if you're miserable in it, at least you look good at the end of the run.
Yeah, it's kind of your built-in cardio for the day. Yeah.
As we sit here in the glamour of Las Vegas, how does it compare between here and the Broadway stage? Because they are very different audiences, aren't they?
It's a very different, very, very different audience. There's something about New York that just kind of has a slightly... slightly more experienced theater audiences. In Las Vegas, it's kind of more built for the touring...
drunk people, that's what you're saying.
There are plenty of drunk people in New York. I mean, that's kind of the goal of selling the Jello shots and the beers in the aisle. But, they're both great places to put on this show. The audiences certainly respond differently here than they do there. Different jokes land, different moments seem to appeal more here than there, and vice versa. So I've only been here a few months, so I'm still kind of learning exactly how it goes down here. And there's a wider range of response in Vegas than there is in New York. I think there are often audiences where the majority of the audience doesn't speak English, so you know the response is always going to vary, and that's fun for me because I speak directly with the audience and can kind of feel it out a little differently that way.
Last year I said this was the best show in Las Vegas in terms of musicals. There aren't many left, and there aren't many that survive and that work. I think the reason this works, A, because it's an 80s musical and the people who are coming get the music. That's really important. I'm not sure they want to sit through Phantom of the Opera or Les Miserables, as great as they are. The music is what's key in this, isn't it? And the choice of music.
Yeah, it certainly is. You can't go to a bar anywhere and not hear at least 5 songs from our soundtrack. Not from our soundtrack, but songs our soundtrack stole to put in our soundtrack. But the thing I will say about this show that's different from every other jukebox musical I've ever seen is it draws from an entire genre of music rather than a singular artist. So Chris D'Orenzo, the writer of the book, had much more leeway to kind of fit songs in a clever way that he wouldn't probably have had the opportunity to do if he was only had the canon of one artist to draw from. And that's what makes the jukebox musical very challenging. I've always found to do a jukebox musical well is far more challenging than to adapt a movie.
And let's talk about 80s facial hair. And that can be quite depressing. What is it like walking around the streets as you when you're not in character? Because this is part of the act, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm used to walking around. My mustache has reached kind of cowboy status, I like to say. But that's kind of this character. He was, I play a roadie who also is the narrator of the show. And so I get kind of a grungy look to walk around with for life. But it's actually served me well with other work, so I've gotten used to it. When I shave, it feels strange now. So I don't know. But facial hair wasn't really in for the hair band. So I think my character's the exception, to be honest. Yeah.
It was indeed. And then we look at the sexiness of the cast. How much fun are you having as a team? Because I imagine doing a show here, you're on at 7:30, you're done by 10 o'clock. Is it a party, or is there still a great discipline? Because at the end of the day, you've got to be able to perform the show in a party town.
Yeah, it's kind of a bit of a tightrope, to be honest. But once you kind of get in with the long run of the show, it just kind of becomes your job, and you get used to the grind of it. You get used to walking around with girls in their underwear as their costume, and you don't even notice anymore. But it is, I always have said, if you're going to do a show for a long time, this is the one to do. The music's fun. There's a lot of eye candy in the cast, and everybody gets along. Everybody that is hired through Rock of Ages seem to be kind of cut from the same cloth, as far as sense of humor, as far as the way we interact. I've yet to enter a cast of this show and not immediately have rapport with the actors, which isn't always the case.
It seems to me, having done this job for a long time, that the funnier the show is and the more fun it appears, the more discipline you have to keep that on the rails, because in a sense, to bring that alive every night is a tough job, because you've heard the jokes before, and to make them funny isn't easy. When did that become normal, when you could walk on and make a gag that you've told 100 times appear like it's your first?
I think that's the challenge, and the challenge I enjoy kind of taking on is trying to do show number 1,200, 1,300, whatever it might be, as if it's the first, and always approaching it with that in mind, and trying to always kind of take what the other actors are giving and give an authentic response, and give what the audience is giving, or take what the audience is giving, and try and roll with it. That's the greatest challenge in doing this role, and I really enjoy that challenge.
Why you? Why are you the guy they've kept in it and re-signed and then brought here from Broadway? Have you thought about that, or is that too concerning to even contemplate?
Well, my lack of ability to get other work.
You're available. That's basically it, isn't it?
I think this is a great show for me and my sensibilities. I've had some clowning training, commedia training in college, and I kind of see this as modern commedia, almost like doing a Looney Tunes sketch for 2.5 hours a night. So it really helps you to kind of sharpen your comic tool bag, and if it's not sharp, if it's not tight, it's not going to be funny. So in an interesting way, this has helped me hone my ability to play all different kinds of comedy, because of how sharp it has to be and how precise it has to be all the time.
And we should say, this ain't Shakespeare. It is trying to be funny throughout. Your characters are all parodies of 80s characters, some of which are still walking the strip now, ironically. It's a funny show, hysterical, with great music. I don't think there's any better way of celebrating it than that. I mean, I loved it when I saw it at the Venetian last year. The energy within it is totally unique, and it's got a polish. And as I say, it has to be done incredibly well so it doesn't become some silly crap parody.
Yeah, it's a very, walking that line between satire and camp is a challenge, and I've always viewed this as satire. It's certainly a campy, fun time, but I don't think you can, as an actor, I don't think you can approach it that way. Otherwise, it's just a big fat eye roll. So I think if you can find the humanity inside of the style, I think you're on the right path, and that's the challenge of putting this show on. I've seen it done, to both extremes, and it's really quite obvious when the mark is missed. And I kind of think that doing this style is, in many ways, a far greater challenge, or a different kind of challenge than doing a classical play. It's silly to say, but I think it's as challenging to do well.
I didn't see you in opening night on Broadway, but I saw you shortly afterwards, and then seeing your name on the poster here and there and elsewhere in other shows. Does that ever become normal? Because that's every actor's dream, most of which end up working in a restaurant. They never get the gig. You're still at it. Does that ever become normal?
Well, it's not lost on me the opportunity I've been given to kind of be a part of this thing from the beginning of the experience, when it was meant to be 3 months in a basement off Broadway, to 8 years later, kind of trying to recreate what I did in 2008 in a much older body, you know. So it's not lost on me the opportunity that I've been given, and I take a great deal of pride in the fact that I've been with it all the way through.
And so you should. You're excellent at it. Do you have aspiration to be a giraffe in The Lion King or anything? What's next?
Well, I'm not. I mean, I'll take whatever work I can get for sure, but that's not my career goal. I enjoy developing new projects. So I'm hoping that something else will come along like that. I've been a part of a Civil War comedy, which I'm going to do another workshop of. It'll be the 4th workshop of a show called Uncivil, which is kind of a Spamalot type take on the Civil War, with 7 actors playing everybody in the war. So, you know, I've got my fingers crossed about that project, and if not that, hopefully something else will come
Isn't it amazing? Every few years a show comes on Broadway or in the West End that just nails it. It was The Producers a few years ago, and now we look at what's going on. It's extraordinary, isn't it, how you can have those hits. They come and they go, but at the time when everybody's trying to fight for a ticket, it's still amazing how people love theatre.
Yeah, and there have to be kind of a million different things have to come together in order for such a thing to happen. I've been a part of 5 or 6 other projects that had that same end game in mind. It didn't work out for whatever reason. So I just think that the timing has to be right, and the producers have to get their money, and they have to get the right cast, and you know, it's a challenge. I'm amazed anybody ever makes money doing theater, to be honest. But I love doing it, and it's the true actor's medium, so I want to stick with it until I can't do it anymore.
And I guess that's what's so amazing about Rock of Ages. Of all the shows that have come, brilliant ones, Hairspray, Lion King, they come, Mamma Mia, they come quickly and they go quickly, and this is still here. Rock of Ages is on at the wonderful Rio, just off the Strip. You can get the bus from all different hotels and casinos. See Mitchell Jarvis. How long are you in it for now as Lonny?
I'm here until the end of August, so another few months.
Fantastic. Enjoy the summer. Come and see it, 7:30 every night, Rock of Ages. Great to talk to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.